Hello, welcome to another pre-calculus video. This is Mr. Miller. In this video, I want to remind you of how to factor monic trinomials. A monic trinomial is a trinomial whose leading coefficient is 1. The reason why we want to factor these is we're going to need this to rewrite equations for parabolas in intercept form, and that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so let's start with what we're familiar with. Let's start with some multiplication and look for some patterns. So we're going to multiply these two binomials here. If we do that, we get x times x is x squared. X times 2 will give me a plus 2x. 7 times x is 7x. And 7 times 2 is 14. And if you remember right, we combine these two, the x terms. So our final result would be 1x squared. I'm putting the 1 there to emphasize it's a monic trinomial. When we add 2x and 7x, we get 9x, and we have plus 14. Now, we want to see how these two numbers are related to the numbers involved in the product. And we see that the 9 is the sum of 7 and 2. We combined 2 and 7 to form the 9. So this number is the sum. And where did the 14 come from? It came from 7 times 2. That's the product of the two numbers. All right. So let's take a look at this one. If we multiply it out, x times x is x squared. X times 3 is plus 3x. Minus 5 times x is minus 5x, and minus 5 times 3 is minus 15. We're going to get 1x squared. When we combine these two, we're going to get minus 2x. Sorry, we already have the x there. And the last term, the constant term, is negative 15. And we see this pattern still holds. Negative 5 plus 3, that's negative 2. This was the sum of those two numbers, and this was the product of those two. Well, you're probably convinced already, but let's try one more. So x times x is x squared. X times minus 6 is negative 6x. Minus 4 times x is minus 4x. Minus 4 times minus 6 is a positive 24. So we get 1x squared. This is the sum of the two numbers. That would be plus a negative 10x or minus 10x. So this was the sum. And negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. That was the product. Okay, that's going to help us when we start with the right-hand side and want to get the left-hand side. All right, so on these next ones, we're just going to check if these are true or false. And we're going to do this without actually multiplying. We're going to look for the pattern. So we have x squared plus 7x plus 6. Well, this number should be the sum of those two numbers. And it's not. 3 plus 2 is 5, not 7. So I can tell you that this is false already. Let's take a look at this one. This should be the sum of the numbers. This should be the product of the numbers. Negative 2 plus negative 5 is negative 7. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. This one is true. By the way, this only works for monic ones with leading coefficient 1. All right, let's check this out. Negative 9 plus 5x is negative 4x. This works. Negative 9 times 5 is negative 45. That is the product there. So we have these two numbers have the right sum and the right product, so it's true. Okay, let's check this one out. Let me see. This should be the sum of the numbers. This should be the product. 9 plus negative 2 is 7, not 3. This statement is false. So here we go. We're actually going to do the factoring now. Remember, factoring means writing as a product. So we're going to write this as one binomial times another. Since this is 1x squared, we know it starts with x times x. And we need two numbers whose sum is 16 and whose product is 15. Well, this is the hard part actually for many people. So one little hint is you might look at a factor table. The factors of 15. 1 and 15, 3 and 5, and we're looking for the two that add up to 16. That would be the first factor pair. So this would be plus 1 and plus 15. That works. 1 plus 15 is 16. 1 times 15 is 15. All right, let's take a look at this one. We're going to have this as x and x. Let me see. Two numbers that add to 12 and multiply to 20. So you don't have to do the factor table. People do different things, but it might help you if you get stuck. That's why I'm showing you. So 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Those are all the factor pairs. We need the one that adds up to 12. That would be 2 and 10. So plus 2, plus 10. Okay. Two numbers whose sum is 4, whose product is negative 12. Well, I'm going to make the factor table for a positive 12. 1, 12, 2, 6, 3, and 4. And because the product is negative, I know one number has to be negative and the other one has to be positive. So maybe it's negative 1 and 12 or 1 and negative 12. I think the one that's going to work is negative 2 and 6. So let's give that a try. X minus 2, x plus 6. Sure enough, negative 2 plus 6 is 4. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. All right, let's try this one. Let me see. The sum is negative and the product is positive. That means both are going to have to be negative. Okay. Let me see. Multiplies to 10. We could do negative 1 and negative 10. I don't think that works. It's going to be negative 2 and negative 5. All right. Let's try this one. Our last two examples. So we need two numbers that add to negative 19 and multiply to 48. All right, this is the hard part of factoring. So let me see. I'm going to make a table for 48. So 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12. This has a lot of factors. 6 and 8. All right. They're both going to have to be negative because they multiply to a positive and add to a negative. So both negative have to add up to negative 19. I think we have the two numbers here if we make them both negative. It's going to be x minus 3, x minus 16. Negative 3 plus negative 16 is negative 19. Negative 3 times negative 16 is positive 48. So in my factor table, I write all the positive factors, but I think, is one of them going to be negative or both negative? And then I go ahead and factor it. All right, here, negative 14. All right, so 1 and 14, 2 and 7, that's kind of it. They add to a negative and multiply to a negative, so one is going to be positive and one is going to be negative. I think if we do negative 7 and positive 2, that would add up to negative 5. So positive 2, negative 7. So 2 plus negative 7 is negative 5. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of a reminder. In order to factor a monic trinomial, we look for two numbers with the right sum and the right product. Okay, so you should be ready to go ahead and do the factoring review that's available on Google Classroom. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.